All right. Hey everyone, I'm Nico, and I'm gonna start the pitch with a short quiz, kinda. What do the Great Wall of China, the City of Rome, and this African community have in common? The title, the title of my startup, if you've seen it, might give you a clue, but it's a hard one actually. All of them were funded through lotteries, or fund themselves through lotteries. So this is what we're building. It's called LottoPGF, Permissionless Lotteries for Public Goods Funding on Ethereum. Well, as we've seen, like historically, many public goods have been funded through lotteries. Unfortunately, many have been monopolized by the state, and both public and private lotteries can be rigged, can be manipulated, and basically turn into scams. And it will sound very cliche, but how can we solve them? We can put them on a blockchain. The idea behind using the blockchain for lotteries is we can make them permissionless, so anyone can create their own lottery to fund the public good that they want, or the charity they want. We can make it verifiable, so there will be fair randomness that you can check that is truly fair. And it will be non-custodial, so smart contracts take care of everything money related. And let's take an example. We have OtterTank, CryptoCanal makes a public good. This is basically a public good, you know, like this event is for free for everyone, so people might want to support it. So a sponsor can put like an initial jackpot, and then some players can buy this lottery ticket, and by buying the lottery ticket, let's say 50% goes to the beneficiary and 50% goes to keep filling the jackpot so that they can it can go on forever, basically. Yeah, this is our team. We have Marco, front-end dev and full-stack dev, who makes great apps. Kevin, he's a cryptography nerd and smart contracts engineer. We have Serge, who is a product designer and manager. Myself, I've been always busy with business development and community building. And we have Otto, our mascot, who's just chilling at the pond most of the time. Yeah, and well, the journey of the team has been quite interesting, I think. We were both working on two different startups, but good friends, always hacking together. One was Troops, social network for on-chain clubs or communities, and the other one is Ferry, that is on-chain raffles. And well, we were hacking together a lot, and at the hackathon we decided to do kind of like a proof of concept of this. And later on this Christmas we did an event with Scroll where we kind of proved the concept with a Christmas lottery, and decided to take it a step further and actually do a bigger project. In terms of traction, let's say, well, that proof of concept in the ETH Munich hackathon won the first prize for real world use case. Our testnet Christmas lottery had 18 participants, like around 50 tickets sold at that IRL event. And last week we started this Degens and Regions community kind of thing, where we had like around 300 people join in very few time. Like in 48 hours we had like 25K impressions on X. And we, yesterday we created a manifesto of this Degens kind of vibe, with more than 1,000 mints in like less than 18 hours. So that was quite cool. Yeah, so what we're looking for now is lawyers to help us figure out, for an obvious reason, I think. Well, we're trying to develop a more complicated protocol behind it, so maybe some mechanism design or game theory experts would be very helpful. And of course, community members and pilot projects. And we're also currently running through Susalu grant on Gitcoin, so support there would be amazing. That QR code for anyone who's interested leads to the community on Telegram. But if you're tired of like so many Telegram channels full of, well, this one's actually high quality. We're not allowing spammers, I swear. There's this other QR code that is more to subscribe to the announcements and just, you know, just get the important stuff out of it. So yeah, thank you very much.
Grab your seat.
Where is the grill? Where do I sit?
Yeah, you stand. It's more uncomfortable.
Hello, check.
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe a short question around. I think it's a cool idea, cool product. What's your thinking around getting sort of TVL in something like this? Because that's what really matters. Like, how do you get the initial funds?
Yeah, that's actually like kind of what we're trying to wrap our heads around, like the kind of like mechanism to incentivize the first kind of like jackpot price. To be honest, we thought of just an idea is just to kind of like launch it as a DAO, and then like just it can be an interesting way to crowdfund the initial jackpot through, let's say, donations through like a bunch of people, and then give these people kind of like rights to decide where the money will go or something in that direction. But yeah, if you have some ideas, let's discuss them.
Maybe some like token incentives.
Yeah.
Something you could do later on.
Exactly.
Yes, so I think you found the right total addressable market. There's lots of gamblers on blockchain, so that's a good thing. My question would be like, what is broken with the traditional lotteries? Like, what is wrong with those lotteries? That's something that I wasn't able to see in the presentation.
Yeah, so I mean, the fact that there are some intermediaries is already like a bit of an issue that can be solved. Like most of the lotteries, you know, like national lotteries have like 9% operational costs that can basically be reduced to, I don't know, 80% less. Haven't done the numbers yet, but another thing is like they're also monopolized. So they are basically the ones who decide to which public goods the money that they collect go to. So if we make it permissionless, then anybody can create a lottery and then to that specific cause, and then people who want to play the lottery, they can support that specific cause. Yeah, I think those are the main ones.
Cool. Now, I actually agree with you. And if I'm looking at my phone, that's because I'm using it for making notes. So, and I actually agree with you. Actually, lotteries do make sense as a use case for blockchain. And I think that's great that you're exploring that, especially for things like public goods, because I think you can do a lot of good there with this type of mechanism, because as Thijs correctly pointed out, gambling is very popular over cryptocurrency. And this is, lottos are a form of gambling. So, I would say for that reason, there's a reason why today we have ICOs and IPOs and we don't all have lottos to build coliseums. And I think that there's good reasons for that. Now, I'm on this stage to actually evaluate your project as an investment. And the problem that I have with that is that this seems more like a charity. It's a public goods project, and people might participate in the lottery for fun or to support something that they like. And I think that's great. I'm not against charity. But if I'm evaluating it as an investment, it doesn't make sense to even turn this into an investment, because as soon as you do, you potentially introduce rent seeking, and that makes the system less efficient and potentially more corruptible as well. So, for that reason, I'm afraid I'm going to have to give a bit of a lower score, because I do believe I need to evaluate this as an investment. So, yeah, I would say those are my main comments on that. Thank you.
Cool, thanks.
Yeah, I think Justin here is absolutely right. Like, how can we evaluate this as an investment? You were saying 9% operational costs for traditional lotteries. You're going to bring it down to 1%. Can we assume that 1% of every lottery ticket sold is going to this protocol, or how can we see this as an investment?
Indeed. So that's also one of the things that we're exploring. You know, like we actually compare this a lot with DEXs. So we think like, because once the code is out, it's going to be very easy to replicate and then copy it. So we think like the protocol with the biggest liquidity, or like the lottery with the biggest price pool, will be the winner, let's say. So if the best way to solve that is through creating indeed like a more sophisticated protocol that can potentially also provide some incentives to, let's say, token holders who own this network, basically. So there's definitely stuff that we're thinking about that, you know, we'd love to explore a little bit more in depth. But we definitely, like, lotteries are very profitable. So if we put them on the blockchain, I think we can make them even more.
Add a contrarian opinion here. I disagree with the previous statements from the other judges. I think it could be a good investment, and public goods funding, these types of instruments can be profitable. I think with the magic of tokens, right? In that, like, if there's, like, let's say a 1% cut of the funds that are distributed to public goods, 1% goes to some treasury where the token holders can hold. You know, that could provide some underlying value to the tokens. So as like, it's definitely not like a mature investment, but I think like for a high risk angel type investment, it could be viable. But it's like, you know, high risk, high return. But that's why my question around like getting the TVL, right? Like if you, that's like, you got to get like millions and millions, right? Much like, yeah, hundreds of millions, and then that's when the token actually has some like strong value.
Yeah, indeed, like. Maybe when we go off the record, we can talk about like what we've been exploring about the token side of things. But yeah, lovely comment.
True. It's not a security. We're not talking about
Yeah, something for you to think about in terms of your incentive design in the future, if I could just add, is that the thing is, if you have a lotto mechanism to fund public goods, there's the issue that there's more of a disconnect between the incentives of the investors / gamblers in terms of you know, their success in the lotto. Like some people might just invest because they think they're going to win the lotto, and it's not exactly as good as appropriating funds like, say, ICO mechanisms are. So that's just something for you to think about as well. Yeah, and I will say, so I suppose for a very degenerate investor, what you said earlier is true, so I could be on board with that.
pretty degen. Yeah, I agree on the degen.
Alright. Thank you, judges. I'm going to turn to the audience. Any question from the audience? And I'll just grab one of the mics and go back and forth.
I have a question.
Sorry, first one was in my field of vision. Sorry. I'll stand up. Yeah.
Hey, so I brought this up when we were talking offline as well, but the issue with current public goods funding is that it's the demand side, right? It's like people fund stuff that they know, people fund, like Bankless gets funds, venture capital, people who have raised venture capital get public goods funds. So that's the issue, right? How does something like this solve the issue?
Can you repeat the question? Sorry.
How do I not distribute the lottery to my friends?
Oh, right. Yeah. So we see this more as a kind of like part of the public goods funding toolbox, where, you know, like let's say Gitcoin, Octant, all, like there's a lot of players who focused on resource allocation more, I guess. And we see this as the piece that's more like for capital formation, let's say, like to incentivize people to actually donate, because, well, how Gitcoin works right now is just the incentive is that it will be matched with some funds, but if there's no real intrinsic motivation that indeed like works in the real world with normal lotteries. So I think we could explore like also resource allocation, but I think like it might be smarter to just really focus on the kind of like capital formation part.
Hi, I'd like to know if you've thought of actually showing this to current lotteries that already exist as a way that they can enhance what they offer in order to also offer public funding. Because what I've noticed is that a lot of lotteries, at least here in the Netherlands, what they do is that they show that you can do many things apart from just being a lottery, right? They offer, you know, like a card and this sort of thing. But have you thought like also telling them like, hey, there is more in blockchain that can be used on your lottery with this?
To be honest, we thought to use it as a defense mechanism when they start knocking our door, you know, like, hey, you can actually use this, why are you attacking us? You know? But it's definitely like, I mean, right now, there's really only national lotteries happening because the rest are like either illegal or like super highly regulated, so it's definitely gonna be an approach to tell them, hey, we have the infrastructure that can help you reduce costs. I'm not sure they're gonna want that actually, but yeah, it's a great approach to take.
There is a irony to solving public goods problems in cryptocurrency with gambling. I just wanted to bring that up.
Definitely. I mean, I agree, but we want to bring it together. That's also why we created this regions community. Like regions are defined as these kind of like degens who wanted to turn their profits into something good, you know, like funding public goods and stuff like that. So, yeah, it's ironical, but I think it works, especially in this space where everything seems to work.
So, I want to understand actually who is our customer and how can you attract the first 100 or first 1,000?
Yeah, so I would say it really depends what approach we take. So like if we take the approach of kind of like creating a protocol that allows to, so the way we're thinking about it is incentivizing kind of like a main lottery that is fed through kind of like sub-lotteries. It's just an idea that we were exploring just recently, but so the way it would work, so these organizations that want to fund their initiatives, those would be the initial customers, let's say, if we take that approach. The other one is like if we create a big lottery, then the customers will be really like just Web3 gamblers or Web3 people. Yeah, the way to get each is different. One requires more business development, you know, talking to, let's say, Gitcoin first, or like looking through the projects that have applied to Gitcoin that we can tell you can also use this mechanism. For like, let's say, normal users, it requires a lot more heavy marketing, you know, like just social media and stuff like that.
All right, I'm going to take one last question from the audience and just let people know that there's a few more seats here and bean bags, so if you don't want to stand on this side of the stage, it's fine.
You already said that lotteries are either illegal or highly regulated. Where are you in this space, and how long will it take for you to get a license to do so?
Yeah, so I think that's the interesting part. That's why we need lawyers to explore, but because the main problem that we've been facing is that we don't feed, so there's in most jurisdictions kind of two types of licenses. One is like the operational license, and the other one is like the software provider license. For example, the Netherlands doesn't need, if you're a software provider for lotteries, you don't need, or gambling, you don't need a license. You can just sell it. But we're not sure we fit that category because like people are actually interacting with it. Especially we have a front end for the lottery and people are directly interacting with it. So, but at the same time, we're also like how many jurisdictions define operating is just like the people who have the contact of the customer, which we don't because like everything happens through the contracts. So it's a very gray area, and yeah. That's why we like to relate it to the Uniswap example, you know, like to decentralized exchanges, because like they should also need a license, but they don't operate with a license because there's no, like the requirements are not needed for that. So yeah, that's how we're thinking about it.
All right, thank you so much, Nick. I'm going to now invite the judges to give, do you have any final comments or questions for him before you decide, or are you ready to give your final grade time? An explanation of that said point. Thijs, no cheating. Alright.
So yeah, I give it a 6.
You gotta
Oh.
you gotta turn it around.
No, it's fine like this. I give it a 6. I can see it succeeding. The only part is the tokenomics for me, but also the attracting the users. That's one of the guys in the audience asked. I think maybe introducing points or airdrops is something that works really well. So going to the first 1,000 user is going to help with airdrops. And that's why I give it a 6. I want to see where it goes, TVL wise, but also where investors are able to get return. So that's why I give it a 6.
I give it 7.5. I think it's a good project, good idea, pretty original. I think it solves a good problem in the crypto space. So it's good to see more public goods funding as a focus here. Of course, there's huge challenges with like regulatory stuff, and then also TVL or just navigating that entire space. So very challenging space, but it's sort of a high risk, high return type thing.
All right. I will say if I were to evaluate this as a charity or the good that you're doing in the world, I would rate it very highly. But I'm here to evaluate it as an investment, and that'd be a 3 for me. No surprise, I'm going to be the most pessimistic one out of the bunch here. But I do actually like what you're doing, and I will say it actually makes sense to use a blockchain for this, which is always something that I think is a very important requirement. And this is the type of thing that historically also has worked on blockchain. So I think that's fantastic, and I wish you the best with it. So. Sorry, okay, I'm being told I need to be more of a bad cop here. So, terrible investment. You cannot add any sort of investment perspective because it would add rent seeking to the system, and it misaligns the incentive of the lotto participants from the actual success of the project itself. Is that better? Okay, good, glad. Thank you.